He's a longtime coach. He's a all-22 junkie, Cleveland.com, our very own tailgate show every Sunday. Lance Reisland, Coach Riz on the Fan Hotline. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
All right, so if you want to gloat about your burger bet, where you got to win, and I do it every time they lose, you can do that right now before we get going.
Oh no, I'm not. Just know I'm thinking it. That's all. That's all I need from you. Just know I'm thinking it.
All right, that's fair. Now, JP, when we were talking about McDaniel's system yesterday, he had said that you had claimed that it only works in roughly 6 cities. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so, when you watch the Dolphins, McDaniel's a really brilliant offensive mind, and he bases everything on space, numbers, and timing, pace, and rhythm. And so when they're cooking, first of all, their pass game, it's a lot of quick play action, two is on schedule, a lot of things over the middle, especially between the hashes. But he bases everything on depth of drop of the quarterback, depth of route by receivers, and they got to be really good when they catch the ball, run after catch. And he doesn't adjust, right? He doesn't adjust to bad weather. He doesn't adjust to wind. That's why they've struggled so much, in my opinion, more than, Tua is from Hawaii. It's the fact that the system is so rhythm-based and so timing-based that if you have weather, if you have wind, he doesn't adjust. And it's just really hard unless you have perfect conditions. And you saw that on Sunday because he doesn't adjust. And when you don't adjust, especially in these cities where the wind is so vital and so harsh, you get what you got. And I, that's been the case since I've watched him going back a number of years. I think he's brilliant, but everything is so system-based, and it doesn't account for any type of weather or any type of a wind, I would say.
All right, so JP accurately quoted what you said. My rebuttal was, okay, it's the same offense that both Shanahans have run, and Kyle has had success in Cleveland in 2014. Mike won 2 Super Bowls in Denver. They've had success in kind of colder climate areas. Is there just something different Mike McDaniel's doing?
Yeah, so first of all, he's almost 100% out of the shotgun. So the initial Shanahan system comes from underneath center, the wide zone, the boot off the wide zone, the motioning. But there's also, Shanahan is not over the middle as much as McDaniel is. So that timing with those bang eights, the slants, the short digs, the in routes, all those in routes coming in where those guys waddle and those guys run after catch. They didn't do. That's kind of his Mike McDaniel's he's kind of evolutionized, kind of taking it from a Shannon and then kind of putting it into his own thing. And he's not much. When you watch the Dolphins offense, there's a ton of first read stuff. So RPOs, it's cover 2, fake, hit it in the hole. There's not as much progression as the original Shanahan offense. So, yeah, the only difference that I see is just that he's taken away some of the progressions, which if you get in rhythm can be really good for a quarterback. But you see what happens when you have to get to the second or third option. They're not very good at it, and that's because it's based on that primary read a lot of times over the middle of the field.
You see how I couldn't just recap the you see how that worked?
Yeah. No, that was good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
By the way, I did the math here. It checks out.
It works. All right, Coach. All right, Nick and I have gotten in a debate over the past couple of days about Dillon Gabriel's Week 7 play, and I honestly, I think the heart of it is just how we perceive him, or really with the expectations that we want on him. I maintain 73% completion percentage, 90 passer rating, top 11 in EPA per play. That's more than good enough for what I need out of Dillon Gabriel in a rainstorm. How did you see what Dillon had? The misses, the goods, the bads, everything in between. How'd you see what he did in Week 7?
Well, he was very efficient, and I will say because it was in a rainstorm, I listened the last couple of days, and it's been interesting because of the fact I don't think it's more like you said, it's more the outside kind of perspective of how we viewed him. I view him differently than you guys. I think he's a starter in this league. And I will say this though, after 12 quarters, one being over in Europe, one being against a very tough Pittsburgh team that he didn't play well. He also got hammered, so he showed a little bit of toughness. And then in a rainstorm, I just think it's too early to say he can't do it or he can do it. Same with Shedeur. Shedeur hasn't played yet, but to say he's going to be lights out better, I don't see that because of obviously how much time they've played, but you have tackle issues, you have receiver issues. And I get that other quarterbacks have had that, But these are guys, this is where they're at. And for me, I like his efficiency. I like the fact that they won. I will never downplay winning. And I know it's not the only thing, but for me, and as a coach, that's much more important than any stat will ever be. And he's getting them into the right run plays. He's protecting the ball. Now, I think he's at a good step. As he moves forward, he's going to have to get better getting the ball downfield. He's going to have to improve his accuracy over 15 yards, and he's going to have to keep taking those steps. But where he's at right now, I think he's doing a very solid job with lots of room for improvement. But I can't evaluate him until he gets until they get into some normal games and normal weather and other quarterbacks go through that as well. All very fair points. I just think it's too early for either of these guys to kind of say they can't or can't do it. I kind of want to see him play. I've liked what I've seen so far. I would like to see some more downfield stuff, and we'll see how that goes.
Coach, from game 1 to game 3, have you seen development from Dillon, and if so, where?
I would say the number one thing, first of all, his what he's had since the start is poise and composure, and he's protected the football. So that can't go underrated. You protect the football in the NFL, you got a chance to win. Now, the thing that has the accuracy has improved a little bit. The thing that scares you a little bit, if you're an anti-Dillon fan or just a guy who you're wondering how good he can be, is he has not progressed very much throwing the ball downfield. Now, I will say that that would be on the coordinator last Sunday. If you throw the ball downfield, you're not very smart in that weather, right? So I thought the game plan was very good, whoever's at quarterback. Now, what you need to see moving forward when weather gets better, things like that, is can you stretch the ball downfield? That's his next step. I think he's getting him into the right run reads. I think his fundamentals are very good. I think you see he's better when he's outside the pocket. Along with being inside the pocket, but not throwing it 52 times from the same point. I don't think that's a strength of his. So once again, when you draft these guys, you draft them not for try to fix, necessarily everything they do poorly. You got to draft them on what they do really well, whether it's Shedeur or Dillon. And Dillon's a guy who works best from different launch points. So I think he's, moving well, throwing from different launch points very well. Some of the height concerns have shown up in the pocket, but his next step is stretching the ball downfield and making sure that he can get some chunk plays for this offense, which will also help the defense, special teams, et cetera. So for me, I think the progression's good. I want to see it continue, especially with the shots downfield.
There's a couple guys I've always credited you with. Malik Collins is obviously one. You called out him being awesome, and he's been better than anyone could have advertised. You also really were high on the soup can, Tyson Campbell. When I was not as high on him in that acquisition, you were really high on him. A good game for him. What'd you see out of the corner?
Well, you know what it is? It's even though they're in zone, Schwartz's zone, people think zone and man are completely opposite. It's really the scheme, right? So even in zone, Schwartz's zone coverage, when those guys get into their zones, those receivers get into their DB zones, they're very aggressive with man-type techniques. So they don't really play like the umbrella where eyes are in the backfield. That's not a Schwartz-type scheme. So even in zone, they have more man qualities than most teams. Now, what he does really well, he has elite measurements, all those combine stuff. He's long, he runs well, he tackles well. He's got a thick lower body for a DB. He's got really long arms, so he jams very well. He gets in your hip pocket. All those things we talk about, spatial awareness, quick, short area burst, all those ridiculous things I talk about all the time. He has them. So now he's in a scheme where I think he kind of believes it, and he kind of believes in what he's doing. And he has a coordinator, whether, like sometimes I don't like when Miles Harden's on Justin Jefferson, but what that does for a defensive back, it gives them extreme confidence. And if you're a guy who has elite skills, sometimes if your coordinator gives you that confidence, you can kind of see what you're seeing out of him in the first couple weeks. Again, I think it's early and he has some things to prove, but he's played pretty well, in my opinion, first couple weeks.
All right, Coach, how did the O-line grade out on Sunday?
Well, they're better inside. So what they did really well is they picked up a bunch of twists that they have not been picking up very well. And I think more importantly, they went back to the gap scheme. And when you go back to the gap scheme where those guards are pulling and you're getting down blocks, you go from more of a read concept when you're running zone and you got to worry about the flow of the linebackers and all that kind of stuff. And you go into more of an attack mindset where I know my rules, I'm stepping down, I'm blocking that guy, or I'm going to the next level. And when you have that mentality as an offensive lineman, again, it builds confidence. I thought it helped the tackles because They're still struggling in pass protection, and they need help. But if you can, kind of maximize what they do well, which is they're aggressive run blockers, all those guys, they're just not very good in pass protection. So it was much better. I think the scheme was much better. They were diverse, like we were talking last week. They ran pin and pull. They ran counter. They ran power. They got those guards out in front. All the gap schemes, all 3 touchdowns by Junkins were all gap schemes. And I think that's important moving forward because that'll also set up those boots and waggles that Dillon and Shedeur are pretty good at.
Coach, you made a comment to me off the air on Sunday that you're going to start to look into a little bit more about Schlesinger and see exactly what's been going on over the past couple of weeks. And then he played the game on Sunday. Basically, everyone in the defense looked good, except PFF graded out Schlesinger with one of the worst grades on the Browns defense in and of itself. Now, during the game, you saw he was around the ball, at least in a couple impactful moments. But what have you seen from Carson in a good and also maybe in a negative sense, based off of where we were in the first couple weeks and how we've graduated on?
Well, his greatest strength is his instincts. Besides being bigger than I thought he was coming in, I thought he was a skinny kid. He's a big, thick kid, especially his lower body. His instincts are his greatest trait, and they're also hurting him a little bit at the NFL level. So if you look at that first long run on the second drive from the Dolphins, that was on him and Devin Bush. And what ends up happening, especially in those zone things, he's so aggressive that he kind of overruns things. So that's the first thing that he's doing. That'll come with patience and reps. But that's an aggressive mistake. That's what I see out of him the most. And then secondly, which happens with a lot of young linebackers, in college, they're able to shed, we call it stack and shed, where those offensive linemen come at you and you hit them and you get rid of them really quick. Well, in college, you could do that pretty well. These are grown men you're doing against. So sometimes when he gets locked in with the offensive lineman, they don't let him go. And again, those are things that'll come with strength and reps and repetition. He's still highly instinctual. He flies around. So as an offense coordinator, you got to prepare for that guy because he is never not at 100%. So that's what's happening, and that happens a lot with young linebackers, just overrunning stuff because they're aggressive, and then just kind of learning that grown men strength up front that those offensive line guys in front of you.
All right, Coach, real quick before we let you go, how much of a chance you given to beat New England this week and make it 2 in a row?
I think, if they stay defensively and they got away from that just the 4 down front they've been running for the first 6 weeks. This week they ran multiple 5-man pressures, sim pressures. They put Miles in different spots. If that defense continues to mix it up like that, I think they give May, even though he's playing very well, he's still a young quarterback. That's your best chance. Try to create some turnovers, and then obviously offensively they have to stretch the field down. They have to stretch that football downfield a little bit, and that's going to be because Vrabel is going to take that short passing away from Gabriel. So that'll be the telling tale. Can he stretch the field, and defensively can they trip May up a little bit?
Coach, you're great, buddy. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday, and of course we'll look for you on the tailgate this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much there. Lance Reisland.